Hello and welcome to Lesson 1 of Anatomy and Physiology. For our first unit, we're going to talk about organization of the body, and Lesson 1 is going to focus on homeostasis and the levels of structural organization. Be advised that this lesson is going to be broken up into 2 videos, so this is going to be the first video. So first, let's talk about the difference between anatomy and physiology. They actually are 2 very different terms. That's why you're taking anatomy and physiology, because they are 2 different things. So anatomy is the study of the structure and what it looks like. So this is going to be the shape of it, maybe it has things coming out of it and sticking out of it, what it feels like when you're touching it. That's going to be the anatomy, so what it looks like. And this is derived from the Greek words tomi, to cut, and anat, which means a part. Now we can divide anatomy into gross or microscopic anatomy. Gross anatomy is going to be the study of a large, easily observable structure, meaning that you don't need any other tools to see it. You can see it with your naked eye. Microscopic anatomy is going to be the study of structures that you need to use a microscope to see or a different tool to see. You can't actually just see it with your naked eye. So let's look at these 2 examples here. The picture on your left is a picture of the femur, which is your thigh bone. If we were just looking at the overall shape of this bone, how long this bone is, then we are looking at the gross anatomy. We can easily see the structure of this bone without using a microscope or any other tools. But if we wanted to study the cells of this bone, we'd have to zoom in and use a microscope. So the picture of the right is showing you an example of microscopic anatomy because you're looking at the specific bone cells or osteocytes. You can't see those with just your naked eye, so you need a microscope or a tool to see them. So let's do a little practice. What I want you to do is I want you to pause the video. I want you to read these 5 structures and determine if they are going to be gross or microscopic anatomy. Then we'll discuss together. All right, so when we look here, the brain is a pretty large organ. You can see this without using any other tools other than your naked eye, so that's going to be gross anatomy. Anytime you see the word cell, cells are usually microscopic. So anytime you see the word cell, you're going to be able to assume that it's going to be microscopic anatomy. So a smooth muscle cell or a neuron are going to be microscopic. The stomach is a pretty large, once again, easily observable organ, so that's going to be gross anatomy. And then the mitochondria of a cardiac cell. The mitochondria is a little organelle or a little structure found within a cell, so you definitely know it's going to be microscopic. Next, let's move on to physiology. So anatomy was what it looks like. Physiology is how it works, or the function of that organ. And physiology has a lot of different subdivisions. So if you were to go to the doctor and the doctor needed you to go see a specialist, you're going to go see some type of physiologist. So for example, if you had an issue with your nervous system, so your brain or your spinal cord, you would go and see a neurophysiologist, someone that studies neurophysiology, the functions of how the nervous system works. That picture on the right over there is a picture of a pancreas. A pancreas is an endocrine organ, and if you had a malfunctioning pancreas, you'd go see an endocrinologist. Here is another great example of physiology. So the anatomy of the brain would be what it looks like. We can see that the overall shape of the brain, we can see that it has many folds, it has ridges coming out of it. That's the anatomy. But the physiology is what it does. So if we were to look at that temporal lobe here on the side, you can see the overall shape of it, the overall anatomy of it. But the physiology would be what it does. So your temporal lobe is really for hearing and smell and being able to kind of understand what you are hearing. So how do those 2 concepts relate to each other? How does anatomy and physiology relate? This is a really important concept, and it's called form fits function. What this means is what an organ looks like is going to be able to give you a hint on what it does. So for example, if we look at the heart here over on the right, the heart is a hollow organ and it has these tubes kind of sticking out of it. You can kind of make the assumption that something is going to be flowing in and out of this heart since it is hollow and has tubes coming out of it. And you probably already know that your heart is responsible for pumping blood throughout your body. So blood is going to be entering and exiting the heart. So the form helps you to relate to its function. So what it looks like is going to help you determine what it does. Next, we're going to move on to the levels of structural organization. These are different levels of complexity that we're going to start out very small, moving from atoms all the way up to you, and you are an organism. So the human body is going to exhibit many levels of structural complexity. We're going to start out really small, and we're going to move larger and larger and get more complex as we move from level to level. Our smallest level is going to be an atom. An atom are tiny building blocks of matter. They combine to form different molecules that are found in your body. For example, some common ones would be water, proteins, or glucose, which is blood sugar. Our next level of organization are cells, and cells are the smallest unit of all living things. Now, an atom may be our smallest unit of levels of organization, but cells are our smallest unit that is considered alive. And you have two types of cells, prokaryotic and eukaryotic. A really good way to remember what type of cell you are is you are eukaryotic. Your dog is eukaryotic, your cat is eukaryotic, the birds that are flying around right outside right now are eukaryotic organisms. Prokaryotic organisms, for example, are going to be less complex creatures like the bacteria that may be living in your gut. Our next level is tissues. Tissues are groups of cells that come together to have a common function. We are going to talk about 4 major tissue types when we move into our histology unit. That's going to be epithelial, connective, muscular, and neural. Epithelial, for example, is going to be the outer layer of skin. Connective tissue is going to be fat or connective tissue attaching bones to bones. Muscular, like your skeletal muscle that helps you move. And neural, which is found in your nervous system. Next, we have organs. Organs are when 2 or more tissue types come together to form a specific function in the body. So once again, if we look at the heart over there, the heart is surrounded by a connective tissue. It also has muscular tissue to help pump the blood, and it also has epithelial tissue on the inside lining it. So you have 3 very important tissue types coming together to form this very complex organ. Next, we have organ systems. This is when organs come together to accomplish a common purpose. I have 2 examples for you on this slide. First, we have the digestive system. The digestive system includes many organs like the esophagus, stomach, and intestines that come together to help you digest your food. On the right is a picture of your cardiovascular system. You have the heart, and arteries and veins and other types of transport vessels that allow blood to be pumped through your body to deliver oxygen and nutrients and uptake carbon dioxide and waste. Last but not least is our highest level of structural organization and our most complex is the organism. You are made up of 11 different organ systems coming together to make up you. So this is where we're going to stop for video 1. Please continue on to video 2.